My story begins a few years ago, when I decided to use my computer skills to run a small darknet forum mainly just to share information without censorship. At first, I was extremely paranoid about my site getting hacked and having my anonymity being compromised, so I went online and began to research everything that I would need to ensure my own safety. After countless days of scouring blogs, forums, and other material, I decided I was ready now. I didn't have any money, so I couldn't just buy a VPS and host the site offshore or whatever, so I decided to use my old laptop. After all, I wasn't planning on running a major website. So after setting the server up and what I thought was literally every single thing I could to do harden it against attack, I put the site online. Everything went great for a couple of months. Donations rolled in as the user base grew larger and larger. After around 5 months, the user base had gotten so big I had to upgrade and migrate everything to a new PC, which I built just to host the forum, and from there everything seemed perfect. The site was running smoothly and there were no issues with the migration, until one day when I came home and noticed the PC had frozen. I didn't think much of it, maybe a software bug caused it, so I rebooted, and that's when it was clear to me something was wrong. The PC lit up and beeped a few times then shut off, so I thought to myself, okay, so it's a hardware issue. After a few hours of trying to diagnose the issue, I figured it out, and turns out the RAM had been corrupted. I took it back to the store since it was still under warranty. The customer rep just told me it might have just been a faulty stick. When I got home, I replaced the stick of RAM and had the site back up and running within a few hours. Everything seemed to be perfect again. I apologized to the users for the downtime and everyone seemed to be happy enough. Fast forward a few more months, the forums have been up and running for around a year and a half now. This is when things started to get really weird. I finished work on a Friday. It was a gorgeous day in the middle of summer when I came home and had something to eat, sat down in front of my PC, and noticed I had a message. Upon opening the message, I realized that somewhere I'd messed up. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not like Assange or anything, so I don't really know why anybody would actually target me, but the world is a crazy place, so whatever. The message contained all my personal information, my name, address, bank details, passwords, private emails, and messages, everything from nearly every single device I owned. I freaked out, immediately disconnecting my PC and turning off my internet. However, little did I know, the sender had done thorough research. After spending a couple of hours anxiously pacing my room, I received a chilling text message. "I know everything about you," it read. The message was sent via some type of SMS service, leaving no way to trace it. Then, my phone rang. "Don't talk, just listen," the caller demanded. "I know everything there is to know about you. All I want is 2 Bitcoin, or things will get worse. I'll send you a text with the wallet details." The call ended as abruptly as it began. Checking my Bitcoin wallet on my laptop, I found I had enough from the leftover donations to pay this person off, hoping that would be the end of it. I entered the provided wallet details and sent the payment. My phone rang again shortly after. "Thank you for complying," the voice said. "Unfortunately, someone I know really likes you." He hung up. In a panic, I tried calling the number back. An automated message played, "The number you have dialed has not been recognized." A few hours passed, and I started to convince myself that the last call was just a prank. Exhausted from the day's events, I decided to head to bed. Around 2 a.m., I was startled awake by loud banging at my front door. Armed with a kitchen knife, I peered through the window to see someone by a car. Upon noticing me, they quickly drove off. I rushed to the door, hoping to catch a glimpse of the license plate, but they were already gone. On the doorstep, I found an envelope. I brought it inside, locked the door, and sat in the kitchen, contemplating whether or not to open it. After half an hour, I mustered up the courage to open the envelope. Out spilled pictures of me sleeping. The intruder hadn't just been outside my house, they'd been inside while I was asleep. The images had been edited with bizarre love hearts added next to me. I stayed awake until dawn, sufficiently terrified, then decided to report the incident to the police. Despite my detailed explanation, they said there was nothing they could do. Feeling utterly alone and terrified, I decided to wipe all of my devices and leave. I reached out to an old friend, Marcus, who offered me a place to stay. I thought that would be the end of it, but I was wrong. A few days later, there was a knock at the door. Another envelope, more pictures of me sleeping, but now, they were in Marcus's house. Marcus suggested we set a trap. We came up with a plan to stay up during the night, hoping to lock the intruder in the room. We set up cameras and barricaded the windows, then hid in the room next door. After a few hours, we heard the front door's lock rattle. We watched from our hiding place, and as soon as the intruder went into the room, we locked them in. We called the police while keeping a vigilant eye on the trapped intruder. Just as the police arrived, the intruder took out a gun, held up a sign that read "I love you," and pulled the trigger. The police stormed in, ordered us to the floor, and we pointed them to the locked room. After the police found the intruder, Marcus and I were placed in the back of a police car. I had been sitting in the interview room for a couple of hours, I suppose, while they carried out the investigation. Then, a detective walked in and sat down across from me. He opened a folder and began placing pictures on the table. "Do you know her?" he asked. "Her?" I responded, glancing at the photos. "No," I replied, visibly confused. He looked at me and said, "This is the person who's been stalking you." He proceeded to inform me that they had visited her home and discovered a shrine adorned with photos of me everywhere, from restaurants to the gym, and even while shopping. He further elaborated that she was the one who had been sending messages, making phone calls, and so on. They also found a diary in which she had detailed some kind of future plans for the both of us. She wanted me to be her husband, and we'd been communicating for about a year and a half, from the moment I initiated the forum. After I finished explaining everything, the detective said that I was lucky to be alive. She had, in fact, planned to drug and kidnap me, even constructing a makeshift locked bed to prevent my escape. To this day, I feel fortunate, and I haven't visited the dark web since. I want to extend a massive thank you to all our listeners for being part of our exciting episode. Your support is what makes this podcast possible, and we are thrilled to have you with us on this journey. If you enjoyed our adventure into the unknown today, please share this podcast with your fellow thrill seekers. Stay tuned for our next episode where we'll dive into another captivating story full of mysteries and spine-tingling chills. Remember to subscribe so you don't miss out on any upcoming stories. Until next time, keep your eyes open, your hearts brave, and your lights on. After all, you never know what's lurking in the shadows. This is your host, signing off. Stay safe and keep exploring the unexplored.